Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... There, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes. If you're a smoker or vapor ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction. But there's only one Zyn. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
You've worked hard to build your business. Simply Safe helps you protect it. With Simply Safe for Business, AI-powered cameras watch over your entry points and instantly alert live monitoring agents. They can deter intruders before they get inside. It's protection built for growing companies. 24/7 monitoring, no contracts, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. To get 60% off your new system, go to simplysafe.com/podcast. That's simplysafe.com/podcast for 60% off. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Parles-tu français?
¿Hablas español?
Parli italiano?
If you've used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based technique teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world. With lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers, Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/acast. Spelled BABBEL.com/acast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, November 6th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know, give you the important context, and help each other understand.
Today, Dr. Niki tells us about e-ink screens made specifically for the max resolution of the human eye, and Microsoft wants to make its own super intelligence.
Don't we all? I'm human Tom Merritt for now.
I'm for now human Huyen now.
Let's start with what you need to know with that big story. Microsoft's CEO of AI, Mustafa Suleyman, you may know him as a co-founder of DeepMind, which is now owned by Google, wrote a blog post and did an interview with Semaphore, laying out Microsoft's strategy in light of its revised agreement with OpenAI. Previously on Microsoft and OpenAI, since July 2019, Microsoft has had exclusive access to OpenAI's newest models and has been the exclusive provider of cloud services. After last week's revised agreement, Microsoft still has exclusive access to new models, but only until 2032. So they got some time, but they want to prepare. They also do not get access to any new hardware that OpenAI might make. And of course, no longer the exclusive cloud provider to OpenAI. But it's really that deadline of 2032 and the no new hardware that is what Microsoft is addressing here. The deal also has freed up Microsoft to create its own superintelligence team. So they have created the MAI superintelligence team, Microsoft AI superintelligence team, MAI. Suleyman said it, quote, is going to become more human-like, referring to AI, but it won't have the property of experiencing suffering or pain itself, and therefore we shouldn't over-empathize with it. We want to create types of systems that are aligned to human values by default. That means they are not designed to exceed and escape human control. So really hammering the safety aspect and really throwing some shade on bots like ChatGPT that tend to be very flattering and very personable and kind of feel as if you're talking to a human. Suleyman emphasized that Microsoft will not pursue those kinds of conversational models or, in his words, an infinitely capable generalist. Instead, they hope to focus on superintelligent specialist models. He called it humanist superintelligent. So some examples he gave were one that can improve battery storage or make medical molecules better. Healthcare is actually one of the top priorities for this new team. And Microsoft recently reached a partnership with Harvard Health to pursue some things like that. He said one tool Microsoft has developed can diagnose disease better than doctors. He said 4 times. I didn't see any of the details on that, so I'll keep it very vague. But mostly when Microsoft is saying we want to create a safe superintelligence that doesn't fool people into thinking it's human and can help you live longer.
I like it. I mean, I think there was a lot, I think, about the statements that he made that I think makes sense, especially in the context of what we're seeing coming out of this current generation of AI. And I mean, number one, the areas, I think focus is good. And I think that's true even of the current generation of AI, is that given its limitations and its abilities, it's best applied to focused tasks, right? It's always good. Like even an individual prompt is most powerful when you can be as specific as possible. And so you apply that more kind of like, at a higher level, microscopically, like, yes, any kind of artificial intelligence seems to be most powerful when focused on a single thing. I mean, like even like technology and programs, and even I guess people are like that too. So I like that a lot. And I think the idea, I do like the emphasis that he also made though about number one, aligning on human values by default. So as you said, not kind of falling into this trap of having it flatter people, but also trying to emphasize that while it is human-like, and even that part may be a little bit nervous, but that while it's human-like, that you shouldn't empathize with it, which perhaps will also undercut some of these things that we're seeing where some of the more unfortunate kind of more social problems that we're having with this current like generation. So I like it a lot. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I'm always like, okay, I think the problem definition is great, setting correct parameters and boundaries, and then at the start, and then building on top of that. So limiting scope to focus superintelligence, making sure that the parameters and the restrictions are correct, whatever. But I think defining human values by default will be the interesting part. And how do we enforce that? Because I feel like, to be fair to the people who are making like ChatGPT and stuff, I really feel like a lot of these things that are effects, not necessarily anything business-like, but some of the social effects are unintentional. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I like the approach.
I think it's easy to dismiss this as PR, like, oh, they took a hit when OpenAI, changed the rules of the agreement, and now they're showing they're serious, which I'm sure there's a big part of it is that, right? They want investors to still have confidence in Microsoft and all of that. They want people to understand what they're doing. And that's where I think what you're saying is important to say, like, oh, okay, they're saying the things you probably want to hear someone working on this do. In the broader sense, though, to me, this is check off box. Don't need to worry much about Microsoft being the problem, right? It doesn't mean that we are not going to have a problem. I tend to believe, and I may change my belief and I may regret my belief, but I tend to believe that the biggest threat from superintelligence is in the fraud and abuse category rather than turning us all into gray dust and goo category. But I think that still could be a very big problem, is people using it for malicious purposes. And I like you said, everything that Microsoft said here, because it feels like, well, they're probably not going to use it for malicious purposes, and they're going to do their best to keep it from being used for malicious purposes. OpenAI says the same thing. Anthropic says the same thing. Mistral says the same thing. Meta says the same thing, although I wish they'd say it a little more firmly. And so it's like, okay, but then there are plenty of others out there working on this. And I'm leaving out all the Chinese companies because I just don't follow them, so I don't know what they're saying. Let's assume Alibaba and DeepSeek and all of them are saying the same thing. There's also just open source models and people that are going to go astray. And I think that's where the focus should be, is how not great. Yes, Microsoft, please say you are going to be human-centered. That doesn't end the problem there, though. How do we go after the bad actors? But companies like Microsoft saying this makes me feel better about, okay, now we can focus on the edges. I was like, I really like the Simon Four article a lot, and it kind of emphasized that he's like kind of really as I think with the sense of care and more focus that he's expressing in his words, he is an accelerist, if that's the right word. Accelerationist, I think.
Accelerationist. Thank you. Yeah. Accelerationist, where the impetus, and even I think there's like genuine like excitement that is maybe intrinsic, not necessarily related to business, but yeah, there is an eagerness and an eagerness and a inclination to accelerationism. Is okay, new word. And so that does make me worry. And I agree with you. Like I do feel like same Achilles heel that all technology has, good intentions, but people will find a way to use and abuse. And unfortunately, we're always kind of on the reactive side of those kind of things. And it's can they also make room for those possibilities and be able to kind of be agile about it and be able to, I mean, if I would hope they would be like responding to those things, but yeah, wait and see. Like I agreed. I'm, after reading this, I am mildly optimistic. I was definitely very skeptical before reading the article. I am mildly optimistic now, but I agree with you. Like there's something is going to happen. Just because it always does. Not because Microsoft or AI, but because technology. One of the things that, so the exercise is to get security as close to 0% possibility of bad things happening, knowing you'll never reach 0%. How do you get as close as possible? Yeah. And for all the criticism it can take, Google does a great job of that with the Google Security Group, just out there looking for problems wherever they are and trying to fix them. I would like to see more companies do that for these kinds of vulnerabilities. And to that point, we got an example of first test towards Microsoft's promise to keep safety a priority. In collaboration with the Arizona State University, Microsoft released an open source simulation environment called Magentic Marketplace. Get it like agentic, but anyway, we'll see what T-Mobile thinks of that. It is designed to test whether agents are vulnerable to manipulation. So in other words, trying to see like how could a business try to manipulate an agent to buy a bunch of its stuff on behalf of the customer that it's working for. Initial research found lots of ways to manipulate GPT-4o, GPT-5, Gemini 2.5 Flash to get a customer's agent to buy products. And that is going to be important to know to have these agents figure out defenses to stop being manipulated. I vaguely reminded of maybe a story that we had that you did, or an interview you did with Andy Beach about maybe like kind of training people to recognize like certain situations or bad situations or bad acting situations and how to respond to that. And my second thought is just, this is like Thunderdome for agents. You put them in a simulated environment and then kind of test their mettle.
2 agents enter, 1 agent leaves. Will it be the manipulative one? Stay tuned.
Oh, goodness.
Now I've got an idea for a Sora video. Look at that.
I love it. Oh, man. Well, all right. It is time for us to say DTNS is made possible by you, the listener. Thank you to Kirk Stephenson, Miranda Janelle, That Charlie Dude, and Rusty Dash.
Welcome. Thank you, everybody.
As a small business owner, you don't have the luxury of clocking out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage, all in one place. With LinkedIn's new tools, you can write great job descriptions and quickly get your post in front of the right people using deep candidate insights. You can either post your job for free or pay to promote it. Promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. At the end of the day, what matters most is the quality of your candidates. 72% of small businesses using LinkedIn say it helps them find high-quality hires. And you can boost your reach by adding a hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to get twice as many qualified candidates. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/DTNS. That's linkedin.com/DTNS. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... There, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
Most security systems react after a break-in begins. That's too late. Simply Safe is different. It's proactive. ActiveGuard Outdoor Protection uses AI-powered cameras to spot suspicious activity before criminals get inside. Live monitoring agents can see, speak to, and scare off intruders in real time, quickly calling police if needed. To get 60% off your new system, go to simplysafe.com/podcast. That's simplysafe.com/podcast for 60% off. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
You know what's faster than your paycheck? Literally everything. It's time to get your pay up to speed. With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors available in select states. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
If you're navigating anxiety, depression, relationship challenges, postpartum struggles, or something else, you deserve care that meets you where you are. Grow Therapy is designed to help you find a therapist who fits your needs and supports the way you want to feel. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions. You can search by insurance, provider specialty, treatment methods, and more to find a therapist who works for you. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get to the briefs.
All right, a couple of interesting phone releases to note today. Huawei introduced the Mate 70 Air. It's a 7-inch phone that is 6.6 millimeters thick and costs about $400 less than the iPhone Air. Although it is more than a millimeter thicker, it also has a 6,500 milliamp battery and ships in China on November 11th. Motorola, on the other hand, has a mid-range Android 16 phone called the Moto G557 with a 7,000 milliamp battery, which can last more than 2 days on a single charge. The 6.72-inch phone sells in Europe for €279.
Ooh, that's cheap for a 7,000 milliamp battery.
Yeah, silicon carbon is magic, apparently, y'all.
Yeah. That's wild. They'll never be able to sell that here because of restrictions on imports of batteries, unfortunately. But hey, good for you, Europe. Enjoy that 7,000 milliamp hour battery for €279. That's like $320, something like that.
Amazing.
US. Interesting to see Huawei looking at Samsung pulling the Galaxy Edge and all the rumors of the iPhone Air not selling well and going, let's put out a slightly thicker version.
but for cheaper. So which I think
cheaper.
Yeah, which I think you could argue that is a contention with the thin phones. They've all been quite pricey.
That's
so maybe
true.
that will work.
This could be the A/B test that says, is it the price? We'll find out.
Yeah.
Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has more inside info about Apple's deal to use Gemini to power Siri. Gurman now says the companies are finalizing the agreement. He previously reported they were in talks and that Apple was considering Gemini as well as other models. Now it looks like they are close to Apple agreeing to pay about $1 billion a year for the right to customize a 1.2 trillion parameter version of Gemini that would run on Apple's own private cloud compute servers. Right now, Apple Intelligence uses a 150 billion parameter Apple model. So 1.2 trillion, quite a parameter raise for that. The new system would use Gemini models for summarizing and planning, and then use Apple models for other features. So it would be a combination of models running, which is not unusual. Gurman also notes that in China, Apple can't use Gemini, so it's examining using models from Alibaba as sort of a filter in front of Apple's own models.
Amazing to see that collaboration. We usually think of these companies as being in competition, but hey, collabing.
Yeah,
working together.
It kind of reminds me of when you realize that the American Idol that ran on Fox all those years was made by CBS.
I did not know that.
Oh, wait. Like these companies, they make stuff for each other on the back end all the time. So it's kind of similar to that.
All right. Well, the slow march of the Matter standard, which promises to make all smart home products interoperable, continues with 21 new items from IKEA. It also includes 11 smart bulbs, 3 motion sensors, and air, temp, and water sensors. There's also a smart plug and 4 remote controls. The new line arrives in January.
I love that IKEA is kind of quietly on the forefront of smart home stuff like this. And it's good to see more Matter compliant devices coming. I just wish I didn't have to wait till January because I think I would like to go pick up some bulbs out of this.
I think it's also almost a very accessible way for people that aren't into smart homes to get it, just because IKEA is such a very accessible marketplace for house goods. So I like it. I like it a lot.
This one isn't exactly tech, but it bears on tech. And I think it's important for understanding the context around AI and jobs and that ongoing conversation. Outplacement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas put out its estimate for layoffs in the U.S., and they were big. Challenger gets this data directly because it's involved with a lot of companies that are doing layoffs. And they estimate in the U.S. layoffs reached 153,074 in October. That would be up 175% from last year and Challenger's highest monthly number since 2003. Challenger's numbers can be more volatile than government reports because Challenger is directly involved in the process of layoffs. And it's important to note that we're not seeing a rise in weekly jobless claims at this point, and that the payroll processing firm ADP, which has its own way of estimating jobs because it's operating payroll for so many companies, estimated a net growth of 42,000 jobs in October. Those are not necessarily against each other. You could have 42,000 more jobs net, even with a large number of layoffs, if a lot of people got hired. Challenger says that these job cuts came mostly in the tech sector, also hitting consumer products and nonprofits. Challenger attributed it. This is the part that I think is important for the technology aspect of this story. Most of this is continuing adjustments from the pandemic boom. Tech companies especially hired a lot of people during the pandemic and continue to kind of figure out what people they still need. The impact of the U.S. government shutdown is most of the reason behind the nonprofits laying people off. And softening consumer and corporate spending and rising costs are a big part of this too. So just you have prices going up, people not buying as much stuff, that's going to cause companies to have to cut back. Challenger did also note technological disruption of LLMs, but did not have evidence of how much impact that technology has had. They said it plays a part of it, but they didn't provide any direct numbers on that. Meanwhile, 2 bipartisan U.S. senators, so one from each party, have introduced a bill to require companies in the U.S. to make a monthly report on how AI integration impacts hiring. So basically, if they hire people because of AI or they lay off people because of AI, that goes in a monthly report to show, yes, AI was the cause of this or that.
I like the idea of that. I just don't know how effective that would be.
Yeah.
But I like the idea. And I appreciate the effort to try to mitigate or at least kind of understand the impacts of what's going on. Because
sometimes I don't know if companies even know why they're laying people off. They just, you know what I mean?
They just, 100%.
Like what the real reason is. But yeah, if you're saying, oh, we can use this tool to run HR, get rid of 10 people in HR, obviously that's an easy one to put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Finally, some quick headlines. Lots of stuff here today, but all of these are good to know if you want to understand the news in the future. So file these away.
All right. Google's agentic deep research can now access workspace accounts, including emails, docs, and chat to add more context to detailed reports.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it could do that for direct requests, but not for the deep research. Foursquare founder Dennis Crowley has launched an app called Beebot, B-E-E bot, that turns on when you put in AirPods, and then occasionally, like once or twice during the day, will give you audio snippets about any friends, places, or events that are nearby that you might be interested in.
I feel like that should be called T-Bot instead, but I like Beebot. That's nice.
Maybe they couldn't get T-Bots.
Mastodon is rolling out release 4.5, which supports quote posts for all server operators. Yay! Native emoji support to the web interface and improvements to admin and moderation tools.
Microsoft offered about 2.7 million Australian customers, and apparently some New Zealand customers as well, a refund to switch to lower cost plans after the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission sued the company for misleading customers about changes to their plans, or at least alleging that they were misleading them. Many consumers are reporting glitches in the refund system, which seems to have attracted a lot of users.
Sony announced a publicly available computer vision bias evaluation dataset called the Fair Human-Centric Image Benchmark, or FHIBI, which has 10,318 consensually sourced images of 1,981 unique subjects from 81 countries.
Yeah, interesting that it's not a dataset for training, but for evaluating.
Yeah, I like it.
Google and the Australian Department of Defense announced plans to build a data center on Christmas Island, which is an Australian island in the Indian Ocean, with energy provided by a local mining company.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang told the Financial Times, quote, China is going to win the AI race, and blamed US and UK cynicism, and implied that if NVIDIA can't sell Blackwell chips to Chinese companies, those companies will catch up on hardware tech.
And Chinese regulators issued guidance that state-funded data centers that are less than 30% complete need to get rid of any non-Chinese AI chips and use locally designed alternatives, to Jensen Huang's point.
OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer told the Wall Street Journal's Tech Live conference, quote, IPO is not on the cards right now. We are continuing to get the company into a state of constantly stepping up into the scale we are at. So I don't want to get wrapped around an IPO axle.
So many metaphors. I'm a big fan of Sarah Fryer metaphors now.
I love it.
Reuters reports that Meta's internal documents show that it estimated that about 10% of its ad revenue was coming from scams and illegal goods, but it didn't provide the staff to combat it fully, instead prioritizing its resources in the regions that would give it the largest fines.
Okay. Blue Origin will launch its new Glenn rockets on November 9th, this time carrying real payloads for NASA's Escapade twin satellites, which are headed to Mars.
Yeah, Blue Origin putting real stuff in orbit. Let's see how that goes. And good news for Android Nova launcher fans. It's not dead yet. On Wednesday, released its second update since September. This one, bug fixes and stability improvements, but still there, still good.
And finally, new purchases of Google Play and YouTube movies are no longer available through the Disney-run Movies Anywhere service that syncs purchases across services.
This has to do with the YouTube TV spat. I'm almost 100% certain.
Yeah.
All right, those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper.
Eye pixels. They're pixels for your eyes. Dr. Niki explains.
Dr. Niki, welcome back.
Hello, I have an eye-opening story for you today.
Yes, we had a vote on whether to do this story today, and the ayes have it. A recent article in the journal Nature presented the technology with the smallest pixels ever in a screen that has the highest possible resolution and this is one the DTNS audience loves to point out. Why do I need 8K? My eyes can't even perceive that. Well, this is made for you because it's exactly the highest possible resolution that your human eyes can perceive.
Yes, I thought this was perfect for DTNS. It's got my stuff, the biology stuff, and it's got y'all stuff, which is the pixel stuff, which I know people are excited about.
Yeah. So how does this work?
So unless you're already a 4K to 8K warrior, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. In any screen, the resolution is going to be determined by pixel size and pixel number. If you get more resolution, it makes the images look more realistic to us up to a certain extent. Whether 4K or 8K is better, who knows? But this stuff is the better stuff. The problem with this is that if you have a tiny screen close to your eyes, it can limit the realisticness of the image. And this is why I think a lot of like modern VR tech has this problem. It's getting better, but it's not great, right? Like you've tried the really expensive Apple one. It's pretty good.
And the Galaxy XR. And I have to say the Galaxy XR looks a little better, but they're both not like, oh my gosh.
Quite there.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm not in reality, at least not yet.
I can't believe it's not eyeballs.
I can't believe it's not eyeballs. So is this going to fix that? Why are we making this?
We're taking steps towards fixing it as things go in science. Big headlines, small steps. So, all right. ultra high resolution is difficult to achieve because you want to reduce pixel size to get the higher resolution. But then as you reduce them, their quality gets degraded through different light spectrum interactions and things like that. On the other hand, we have e-paper, like what's in your Kindle. This uses ambient light, so it doesn't have its own light source, and it can maintain pretty high contrast regardless of the pixel size, but it has the downside that it doesn't get super high resolution. This technology that the researchers recently published called metapixel technology, they bypass both of the restrictions. So you get tiny pixel size and high resolution on e-paper.
Okay. That sounds great when you say it does it, but how does it do it? How does it does it? How does it does it? Is this really max resolution?
This is the definition of max resolution.
Okay.
And I'll explain why. And it's perfect timing because I'm doing eye neurobiology in class this month. So
perfect.
All right. So this is what the team is calling a retina e-paper. You can place it very, very close to the eye, not exactly on the eye, but very close. Each pixel is about 560 nanometers, and the entire screen is the size of about your pupil. So this makes it have a resolution of over 250,000 pixels per inch. This is basically at the limit of the human eye's visual resolution. As someone who knows resolution numbers, is that a very high number, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's pretty high. I'm not going to get that in my Samsung TV tomorrow. Definitely.
Exactly. And especially not if you put your eyes right up next to it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is every screen is like, well, the advantage of 8K isn't so much that you can tell, but you can get close to it without starting to see the pixels. But at some point you see the pixels. What you're telling me is you can get as close as you want to this. Your eye is not capable of seeing the pixels.
Yeah. And the reason is in this arrangement, each pixel basically corresponds to a single eye receptor cell.
Wow.
So, we've got the rods and cones, and those are the cells that receive light. These are called photoreceptors. And each of those, I can't tell you the number, probably 250,000 in each eye. And then they send the light information and color information through the optic nerve to your brain, blah, 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 blah. And in this tech, each pixel corresponds to an eye cell. So you can have more pixels, but your eye's not even going to see them.
Yeah.
And
it would fall in the spaces between your literal rods and cones. That's crazy.
We've got, and I have things to say about that too. The eye is very interestingly evolved, but that's for when you take my class. Anyway, what was really fun about this is of course, I love when scientists do this. They picked like a fun way to demonstrate it. They showed a teeny tiny version of Klimt's artwork, The Kiss, on a surface area of about 1.4 times 1.9 millimeters. So like, I don't know, a tiny thing. Imagine 1.5 millimeters. That's how small
1.5 centimeters. No, 1.4.
No, smaller than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a tenth. Wow. That's
a tenth of a centimeter. Yeah. And so it's 1/4000th of a smartphone screen.
Very small kiss.
Yeah. And you can see it and it looks pretty good. Like it looks, it's not perfect, but you can recognize the art piece.
Yeah. So how does the technology of this work? How are they able to make this happen?
It's so fascinating. So, it's e-ink. So it's passive screen. It doesn't have a light source. And the colors appear when the ambient light hits the specifically engineered pixels. Kind of the same way that if you've seen like a hummingbird, they're really brightly iridescent, but they don't have a power source. It's just light reflection on like the microstructure of their feathers.
Okay. So the microstructure refracts the light kind of.
Yeah. And so each pixel has particles of tungsten oxide, which these particles, depending on like kind of how you position them and what size they are, they can manipulate color refraction. And you can create pixels that reflect red, green, and blue, which are the RGB. These are the ones we need to generate all the colors. And with a little bit of voltage, you can turn the particles black. So like kind of switch them off. So
you probably just turn the way e-ink screens usually work is you just turn them around and then they're black, right? So I imagine it's some variant of that, right? Yeah.
So pretty incredible. And also the fact that it's like mechanical. I always find that fascinating.
It's biomimicry.
Well, yes.
Right? Because we're using the feather style refraction. And otherwise, it's just a typical e-ink screen, right? The mechanics of that are pretty well known. It's just making it very small. So obviously, I imagine everybody can imagine some benefits to being able to do this. What are some of those benefits? But are there any downsides as well?
Of course, always. So super small, huge benefit. Like, I don't even need to explain why that's really cool. Putting it on your eyeball, huge benefit. Because it's small, low energy consumption. That's a great thing. But this is like a super prototype. The researchers say they need a lot more development on improving the color gamut. They are at RGB, but it's not like super refined yet. Okay. Slow refresh rate. The lifetime of the actual tech is not that great. And they want to be able to lower the voltage. But they think that in developing this more, this could basically be the future of immersive VR, which sounds promising. But I want to have a discussion with you. What's your first thought when you think about this tech?
Okay, so because it's e-ink, and I know a little bit about traditional e-ink screens, I'm not surprised at the refresh rate. That has always been a problem with that mechanical switching of pixels. I can see where the lifetime of this might be a problem because of the sort of delicateness of the system, right?
Because it's mechanical.
So I'm skeptical that they could ever make a VR system out of this. Frankly, if they can make a VR system out of this, then they can do a lot with e-ink screens that they're not able to do. Like there's an e-ink phone out there, and they basically say, you can watch YouTube on it. You won't want to.
You don't want to.
Because the refresh rate's
so we can watch stop motion with these is what you're saying.
But this would be great for still images, for anything that doesn't need to move. Those are my first thoughts. What about you?
So I realized that I may be a pessimist because my first thought is like, a way to cram more ads down her throat is like shove them into our pupils. Because
you're going to be wearing this to watch to look at Klimt, and
they're going to be contact lenses, right? But actually, and then my second thought was, which they usually say your second thought is what you really think. So let's go with that. Is like probably there's a way to help with blindness or some kind of like limited blindness with something like this. They didn't talk about that in the paper, which I thought was weird because maybe they don't want to like assume. But
well, again, you'd need the refresh rate to be up
depending on
really
what we're doing with it.
But it might be assistive, right? It might help.
Yeah, and they haven't mentioned, like, can you actually read on something like this? If you've got one in each eye, what are we doing? Like, you'd have to overcome, the whole like nerve. Anyway, like bifocal viewing and all that. But I think like it's a huge step. So I think this one, I'm like, this is cool. I might put this in my pocket for our 2026 predictions and be like, we're going to have VR e-ink soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I like this though. I like where it's going, and it may not go VR. It may, but this is the kind of technology I look at. I'm like, this will be good for something no one predicted it would be.
Something, it's going to be something. We're not smart enough to know what, but it'll get there.
Well, Dr. Niki, thank you so much for explaining this to us. Really appreciate it. If people want to get more of your knowledge, how can they do it?
You can use your e-ink readers to access my website at a very slow refresh rate at NicoleAckermans.com, and same handle on Blue Sky, where I will be posting this if I'm on time.
Fantastic.
So it's a gamble.
But it's a good bet is what I would say.
Sure.
Even though it's a gamble. Thanks, Dr. Niki.
Bye.
I want to wear some e-ink on the screen, on my eyes though.
Me too. I love e-ink. I love e-ink, and I just loved everything about the story. I love the technology. I had in my brain a little kind of idea of a very tiny microscopic mechanical flipboard like you have at train stations that just flip through. So it's fascinating that technology advances, but then we kind of still have these like specific paths or like inspirations, like you said, biomimicry that still show up. I love it. Yeah.
Well, if you have feedback about anything we bring up on the show, you can get in touch with us on social networks like @DTNS Show. In fact, that's the name on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon, @DTNS Show. For TikTok and YouTube, find us at Daily Tech News Show.
Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... There, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
If you're navigating anxiety, depression, relationship challenges, postpartum struggles, or something else, you deserve care that meets you where you are. Grow Therapy is designed to help you find a therapist who fits your needs and supports the way you want to feel. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions. You can search by insurance, provider specialty, treatment methods, and more to find a therapist who works for you. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Mel has some skepticism about data centers in space.
Space. Yes, Mel had many things to say in his email, and I promised Mel I heard them all. But this part in particular I thought might be interesting to the rest of the audience. Data centers on Earth generate massive amounts of heat and ultimately dump that heat into water and or the atmosphere. A data center in space will have neither of these, where radiative cooling is the only option. As best I can tell, the chips used in these data centers will have to have some magical future efficiency tech or else be so low powered that they'd be all useless for the stated purpose, especially given the cost of launching and running satellites. Maybe they have such chips or some other solution, but any mention of heat is conspicuous in its absence. So next time this comes up, please remember to ask, whither the heat? Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, Mel.
Excellent.
Well, actually, the International Space Station, I went and looked this up after he asked it because it's a really good question. The International Space Station has a radiative cooling that will take the heat into either liquid pipes or some other ways, and then the heat does dissipate into the vacuum of space, which isn't 100% of a vacuum, so I don't know if that is how it's able to happen. But there are plenty of satellites and things happening up there. But I think Mel's still got a good question of but at the heat rate of an NVIDIA Blackwell chip, does that cause any problems in space? So if anybody out there knows the answer to this, please send it to us. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
All right. Well, what are you thinking about? Do you have some insight for us into a story? Share it. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Big thanks to Dr. Mickey and to Mel for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You keep us in business. If you haven't already, become a patron right now. There's so much good stuff there. Patreon.com/DTNS.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.